Whether it's a big one or a little one, you're gonna like this recipe. It's easy to make, it's fun and delicious.
This is early in the month of May 2020, and I say that only for reference because there's a lot of folks at home. The kids are at home also. Kids driving you nuts just a little bit? Been a little bit energetic, have they? Hard to find something for them to do? Okay, so here's what this video is about. And if you want, you can put this video in the kitchen. It's going to be a kid-friendly video with one exception, how we make the sauce. If you want to use water, that's okay. I'm going to make a fantastic pizza. It's a simple thing to do. I've never seen a young person that didn't enjoy getting involved with making their own pizza. You get to make your own. You get to make your crust thin or thick, however you want it to be. We're going to make the sauce together. It's not hard. It's a little tomato paste, and we're going to season it up just right. It makes a good sauce. Cheese, shredding cheese, isn't a huge chore. And putting all of this together and doing it just the right way, it's a lot of fun. It makes a really good meal. It gets the kids busy for a while. It allows them to enjoy being in the kitchen and to kind of get used to doing things in the kitchen. And for the most part, folks, this is a pretty safe dish to make. All right, so we're going to get in the kitchen. We're going to make some little personal pizzas, and it's going to be delicious. So today's recipe is all about pizza. Before I head in there, let me mention, if you would, please take a look at the rest of Texas Cooking Today. When this video's over, do it then. Yeah, you know, and like check the description box down below. There's some links there for you to look at. A place where you can get merchandise for Texas Cooking Today, as well as the recipes and other stuff like shirts and things that I do. Folks, this is pizza. Your kids are going to have a good time. This is a cook-along video. It's fun, and you're going to enjoy this. Let's get in the kitchen. Let's get busy making pizza. Come on.
Lots of ingredients out here, but it's not complex, okay? Remember, cheese, what goes on top of every single pizza is cheese. Whatever kind of cheese you want to use, go ahead and use it. I'm going to be using some mozzarella. I just happen to have that sitting around, so that's what I'm going to use. Any cheese will do. Your crust, simple enough. We got flour, water, sugar, salt, and yeast to make a basic crust. In our marinara, again, also basic, we have some tomato paste, salt, garlic, basil, and if you so choose to use it, wine can go in this, or you can just go with plain water. But either way, we need enough fluid to make the paste a nice saucy consistency. That's all there is to this, with the exception of toppings. Any topping you want to put on this, you can put on it. Remember, things like chicken need to be cooked first. Lunch meats do really good on this. Feel free to experiment with stuff like that. Guys, it's your pizza. You make it your way. I'm going to start making my sauce first. Now, if you're wondering why I'm doing the sauce instead of starting with the dough, well, it's simple enough. You want to be able to work with things in a way that isn't difficult. If I cook the sauce first, I can cook off the alcohol in the wine and then let it cool, and it'll be reasonable when it comes time to make my pizzas, so it won't be boiling hot. That's why I start this first and then do the dough and let it rise. All right, so either way, your choice. If you have young kids, you might want to consider this method because it'll keep them from getting burned when they are cooking up or when they're making their pizzas. Now, your cloves of garlic, take a knife or something else and just push down on them and crush them, okay? You're only looking to break it open like so. Boom. Second one. Just like that. Very easy. Now, on top of that, I'm going to put some oil. I've just put some heat under the pan, and I don't need a whole lot of oil, just enough to cook these 2 cloves of garlic in. That oil will become a part of the marinara. Here's the thing. Tomatoes are very oil rich. They got a lot of oil in them, okay? And if you've ever cooked a lot of fresh tomatoes, you'll see that oil come to the top of the pot, and that's kind of a common thing. Well, don't worry about it. When you're working with tomato paste, it kind of reverses the process. It'll take oil in without giving it out. It's kind of a neat thing. Okay, now as I heat that up, I'm going to see these start to sizzle, and I want to keep my heat reasonable, so I'm going to put that on a medium heat. As soon as my garlic starts turning brown, I want to get it out of there because I don't want to burn that garlic. I'm only looking to flavor the oil. And see how we can get that oil up and around that garlic, and it just lets it fry. And that's what I'm looking to do. And the whole idea here is the oils, essential oils that are in that garlic, are right now cooking out into that olive oil and turning my olive oil a nice garlicky flavor. All right, and if you've ever wanted to know how to make your own garlic olive oil, guess what? You just found out. All right, so here's the thing. I'm only going to look to cook these, like I said, for just a moment. I'm not going for any heavy, deep cooking or anything. See a little bit of browning going on there. Have yourself a little dish handy so that when you take your garlic out, it'll be easy to do. And of course, as you can see, pulling 2 large, only crushed cloves out is a lot easier than fishing out a bunch of little pieces of garlic, isn't it? If you only have garlic powder, that'll work for this. You're going to be using probably about a teaspoon of that if you do use it. Now I'm going to get my paste right down into this, and I've got to get it mixed in at the same time. As I mentioned, it's going to take it in and won't have any problem, and as I cook it won't release that either. It'll do just fine. So now I have tomato paste that has a garlicky flavor to it. Now, doesn't it, that's just too cool right there. So if you're looking to add garlic to a dish, ladies and gentlemen, I just showed you the very best and easiest way. I'm going to return heat underneath my pan. Now this is still quite thick and pasty. Okay, let's put a little salt in this. There we go. And basil. Now basil is a wonderful sweet herb. That's 1, 2 tablespoons. Yeah. And if you go a little heavy on that, don't worry about it. 3 tablespoons is also very good. I find it a little bit basil-y for my taste, but it's not bad. I find 2 about right for me. And all I have to do is bring this back up to a boil, and then we have our sauce. Isn't that simple? Getting ready to make my dough, so I'm going to take my flour and transfer it right here to my mixing bowl. Something I want to mention, don't ever put yeast and then salt right in there, or salt and then yeast right in there. You want to mix one or the other in first and then add the other, and that's because salt directly against yeast will kill the yeast. Sugar will feed the yeast. It likes sugar. So go ahead and put those in, get them stirred into the flour. There we go. So now I can put my salt in there and stir that in. Okay, now I'm ready to add the water and start making dough. Now, something I like to use is a mixer. If you have a mixer, that's groovy. If you don't have to have a mixer to make this. You can mix this by hand. You only have to mix it until it's just fully mixed. After that, it doesn't take much kneading. You can knead it if you want, but you don't have to. Just make sure it's thoroughly combined. Something I want to mention, if you do use a mixer, whenever you first start it, especially with dry ingredients or if it's a whole lot of water in there, start it on a slow speed. Anytime you add ingredients in a mixer, add them with the mixer running on slow speed. So the thing of this is, it's a matter of being patient with it. You can't really rush dough. If you try rushing dough, you're going to end up with, well, a real bad situation. I need to get my dough rising. It has mixed up. It's looking nice and pretty right there on the end of my dough hook. I'm not going to rush that. I need to get this so that the dough doesn't stick as badly. Now, I said as badly. It's still going to stick, it just won't stick as much. All right, so I want to put a little oil around the inside of my bowl, and I'm going to bring it all the way up to the top because sometimes dough rises a lot. So don't be afraid, just get plenty of oil in there. There we go. When I put my dough in this, I need a lid for it. Now that lid can be any number of items. It can be, let's just say a cloth, a towel. That has the way it's been done, well, for centuries. You can put plastic wrap over it. You can put another bowl over this bowl. That's what I do. I just do that. From there, I take a pan and place my dough in a warm spot, and then it will rise. It'll rise anyway, it just rises faster in a warm spot. I wanted to mention that pans are an important part of this. You don't have to have a round pan. You can have a square pan. You can have a rectangular pan. You can put small round pizzas on a square pan. It doesn't matter. Whatever suits you, whatever works and whatever you has or whatever you have is going to work fine. Now, your choice. So you'll know the recipe that I am making will make 2 pizzas, very thin crust, this size, okay? It won't make a thick crust pizza this size except for one of them. Now, if you want, you can also do little miniature pizzas, a neat way of going, and I like making these little pizzas. I might do some this time. I think they're a lot of fun, and it allows people to have their choice and customize their own pizza their way without arguments about whether there's pineapple on all of the pizza or not. Okay, so you've got some choices on these. Now I've got some dough that has been rising up. Let's take a look at that. The dough, it has risen up. I mentioned earlier that you get to punch this down. This is a fun thing to do for kids, punching down the dough. But before we do, I want to kind of show off a little bit of something. So on this lens over here, let's kind of zoom in on this a little bit. You see how it's formed these big hollow spots all over here. Guess what? Those big holes that are happening here are happening all through the dough. It's a neat characteristic this thing has, and it produces a really, really good quality dough. This could rise up some more. You see how it's staying dented, so it could do some more rising, but for pizza, this is enough. Let the little one, if you have one, punch it down. Right, it's always a fun thing to do. Kids love to get to punch down the dough. Oh yes, this feels good. Nice, elastic, very good. There is an invention made for bakers that a lot of people call a bench scraper. This guy right here. Now, they do make a bench scraper now. It's very similar to this, and it has a sharpened edge on one edge. If it's dull like this, you're looking at what's called a pastry knife, folks. And this was originally invented to take loaves of dough and stuff like that, and to be able to work it, to be able to cut it in half, because you need a very special knife for dough. There you have it. Neat, huh? So, now I need to take these and turn them into pizza. I have 2 halves here that are very similar in size. What I'm probably going to do is to make one large pizza and some small ones to go off on the side. I'm really looking forward to the little ones. I like those things. Something I want to mention, when you're doing pizza, see what I'm doing here? You can work your dough by hand. All right, you do not have to have a rolling pin. Just get at it. If you're making little ones, divide it into little balls and let the kids go at it, all right? Let them just have at this, because it's a lot of fun and it gets out a lot of frustration, all right? Me, I'm too old for that, all right? I believe in the power of the mighty rolling pin. When you're going to work with a rolling pin, you need to go ahead and just get a little flour on that dough. You're going to need a little flour on the board. Okay. So what I'm going to do is sit here and work this out until I turn it into a nice little round for a pizza. And here's the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, if your pizza dough doesn't come out perfectly round, hey, don't lose any sleep over it. It's not like you're a professional pizza maker, okay? It's just a pizza. It's going to taste just as good whether it's round or square or triangular or kind of the shape of an unshelled peanut or whatever. Don't worry about it. So my dough is quite elastic, but it's very smooth. It's a good feeling dough, I'll say that. This is going to make very, very good quality pizza. Now, that's not too far off, is it? Hey, what do you know? Looks like we're right on. Now here's the thing. Do you mess with forming an edge crust or just leave it plain? It's up to you. If you want to sit there and go around shaping that crust, go right ahead. You don't have to. If you want your crust to be special, brush the edge with a little olive oil. Makes for a fantastic edge crust. Other than that, just leave it dry and it'll be fine. I'm going to do the exact same thing a second time for this, and then we're going to take a look at how we handle dough for those small pans. If you want to portion this out for those small pans and just roll out individual ones, you can. But I want to show you a shortcut workaround right now that if you're making these for yourself or for a group or party, this will be a little bit quicker than doing them one at a time, okay? I have a little knife here. I have my pan here. It looks like, there we go. Now, what I want to do is just simply take my pan, place it right on the edge where there's kind of a natural curve, use a knife, and it doesn't have to be an extraordinary knife. You don't have to use your sharpest knife, okay? Just use a simple little knife. Gently cut around that. Once you're done, there's your pizza crust. Now the neat thing is, this crust is actually going to shrink just a little bit, but it's going to fit this dish perfectly. You don't have to do anything for the edge. Just put some sauce in the center of it, leave a ½ inch for the edge crust, put some cheese on there, and boom, you've got personal pizzas. That's all there is to it. It's just that simple. I think I'm going to make a few of these. And by the way, once you've run short on dough, you can take the rest of the dough scraps, put them together, roll them back out again, and turn all of that into yet, you got it, more. Time to make our pizzas. Okay, now let's get a little bit of sauce on each one of these. And I might want to just get a little bit farther forward here so my other camera can see this. Now, think of it as, if you notice, I didn't put a huge amount of sauce on there. Don't, okay? Unless you just like extra sauce on your pizza. For the most part, let the thing, okay, just not be drenched. It takes a very thin layer. One of the things I've learned about pizzas is that the more simplistic they are, truly the better they come out. So I like very basic, simple pizzas without making a lot of extra fuss about it. Uh-oh. I got my sauce a little off to the side on that one, but you know what? It's not going to hurt a thing. Sometimes a little bit of imperfect is just perfectly fine when it comes to a pizza. Now, there's all kinds of other stuff that I can do to this. If I want to use some Parmesan, grated Parm, put it over the top of this, I can do that also. And another thing is, unless you're just wanting a double cheese pizza, what you're seeing right there is a cheese pizza. Okay, if you can see a bit of that red, a bit of the sauce through the cheese, then you've got just a regular pizza, okay? If you can't see much of any of the sauce through the cheese, then you've got a double cheese pizza, okay? Next thing, oven temperature. Oven temperature matters, okay? It does not hurt, to let the dough just kind of sit and hang out before you do what I just did to it. So you can let that dough, like this pizza over here, I can just let him sit there and it's not going to hurt a thing. It's going to rise up a little bit and it's going to make a different crust, and that's okay. It'll be kind of a crispy crust, and I like that. Don't let the little bit of rising that they get bother you at all. Go ahead and let them do that. These guys go down in the oven 450 degrees, and so does that one. It gets the same treatment. On the quantity of all of the ingredients that we use today, let's start with that cheese again. That was 1 pound of cheese. Any kind of cheese you want to use. I used some mozzarella, but anything will do. If you're just doing homemade pizzas, feel free to experiment. On the dough simple enough. That is 4.5 cups of flour to 1.5 cups of water. And on these, that is 2 tablespoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, 4.5 teaspoons of yeast, or 2 packages. Or if you're in the UK, 14 grams. Marinara, we had basic marinara here. All right, started with 6 ounces of tomato paste. Now to that, you're going to hydrate it with some water. If you want to add wine, go ahead. I used 1 cup of white Zinfandel for mine. Gives it a real fruity side to the marinara. I like it. I used about 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 to 3 tablespoons of basil. I like using 2, and 2 cloves of garlic. We cook that into the oil before making our marinara. Very simple to do. Oven has preheated to 450 degrees. Now pizza gets to go in oven. All right. Watch out for that heat when you first open that door. You're going to get hit real hard with it. Check that in a few minutes. It does not take these things long to cook. So you're going to check it in 5 minutes, and then in about 8 or 10 minutes, and you'll see how quickly it'll develop. Does not take pizza long to cook at 450 degrees. Okay. Ooh, that's hot. Let's see if I can take a look under there. Oh, ouch. It is crusty all the way through. perfect. And these little ones, you know, something I like about these little pizzas, and again, nice crispy crust. You don't have to feel bad about keeping the whole thing to yourself. Man, that's good. The sauce is tomatoey, just enough basil to really set it off. That's really good. The cheese, simple, basic, and a crust that just can't be beat. Folks, please enjoy your pizzas. I'm going to love mine, and my neighbors are going to go nuts for this. Please, if you would, take a look at my channel. Lots of recipes on there. There's some links in the description box right down underneath this video, and that is to Texas Cooking Today, also to my website, which is S.A.Trotter.com. That's where I sell my recipes, where I sell hats and shirts and all kinds of stuff. Don't have my shirt on now, but hey, same thinking, all right, folks. Check that out. There's some wonderful stuff there. And if you would, please take care of each other and have a good day and enjoy your pizza. Ooh, come to Papa.